I wanted to share today a little about my collection of vintage quilt photographs. I started this collection probably right after I wrote my book, Wisecraft Quilts. And the idea came to me kind of randomly when I was looking on eBay one night for something totally unrelated to quilt and quilt photography. I think it suggested something to me. But for some reason, this idea popped in my head. What if I what if I search by some different terms on eBay or things like that, sites like that, terms like vintage quilt photographs or vintage photographs of people on quilts or things like that. So I started playing around with the idea. I came up with I got some hits, and enough hits to where I could kind of decide a little bit more detail about what I was looking for. So my collection of photographs sort of evolved from that initial idea. I have a fair amount of photographs right now in this collection, and I thought I would talk about what attracted me to those photos, what I do with them, and how they inspire my work. So when I started looking for these photographs of people sitting on quilts a little more intentionally, I came across a lot of photographs that seemed to be from like the 30s or 40s. And honestly, it seemed there was a theme that I saw recurring, which was people spreading a blanket on the grass in front of their car or beside of their car. Like they looked like car trips. So the people were maybe a little dressed up. Maybe it was a car trip to visit family or something like that. And so they were sitting around food on the quilt, or what appeared to be a quilt. And they were often not smiling. I've heard that sometimes, because photography was so slow, like taking a photograph took so much time and posing and whatnot, that oftentimes people just had probably gotten tired of smiling by the time the photograph was taken. I don't know. But I decided that I wanted photographs of people smiling. So I didn't want super serious photographs of people sitting on the quilts. So I'll show you the first one that I ever found. This one of these 3 women sitting on this quilt. Now, honestly, I don't even know if this is a patchwork quilt. It looks like it could have been knitted. It kind of had the vibe that I was looking for. Like, I don't know. I look at it and I think to myself, the woman with the sunglasses on, I don't know. I feel like she was probably the maker of the blanket or quilt. I'm not sure. And that maybe these 2 women behind her, maybe one's a daughter, one's a niece, or maybe they're both daughters or something like that. But I feel like this particular image really celebrates the quilt a lot because you can see it. It's almost like they're sitting around it rather than on it. And I loved this photograph so much that I actually played with it on Spoonflower. Now it doesn't have a date. Kodak velo paper. It has a number here, which I don't know what that means, and a number here. So I don't know a whole lot about it, but I actually played with it on Spoonflower years ago. I printed it onto Spoonflower canvas and then played with embroidering it and carried a little kit of it for a while. I just thought it was such a joyful image. It made me super happy. From there, each time I would acquire a photograph, I got just a little bit more of a refined idea of what I was looking for. This one, which was from October of 1955, was my second one. And oh my gosh, this might be right at the top of my favorites. She is laying on a Sunbonnet Sue quilt with, it looks like prairie point edges around the bottom. And I love that it just feels like, I don't know, I imagine this like part of a treehouse or something. I have no idea if it is. And she's got little cartoon images cut from probably a newspaper, posted up on the wall. It looks like her special space, and I love that about this image. It always makes me smile. I love her brown skin. She's got little bruises on her knees where she's probably been climbing trees and playing outside. And I just think it is just a lovely image, like end of summer image. So this was my second one. From there, eBay and other sites, Etsy and different places, would show me different images. And I came across this one. I do not know anything about this other than these numbers, which could be something that maybe the seller classified these photos with. I don't know. But it did say this one was from France, and the family is a French family. But if you look in the background, there's some women with, full costume, hats. I don't know what period it is. And I can't even see what they're sitting on. I don't know if it's a blanket, if it's a quilt, if it's a towel. I have no idea. But I got it because I love the mom's face. I imagine this handsome guy who's probably the dad just finished setting everything up. The daughter with her pretty hair blowing and her little doll there. They're just enjoying a day at the beach. I often think about who would have taken this photo, and she has such a familiar look in the camera that I wonder if maybe it's a nanny or somebody else in their family or something like that. But I bought this image for the joyful look on their faces and just I love his white pants, and just the feeling it evokes is really very joyful to me. From there, I started looking more at these photographs of people sitting on quilts or blankets at the beach. And just because I kept seeing a lot of them. And here's one. This is from July of 1960. And there's a little girl with a really fun straw hat on with like these pom-poms on it. There's, of course, the umbrella. The dad's getting everything ready, and the mom is trying to, get a good position to work on her suntan. And I just liked the imagery. I wonder who took this photo. Maybe it was somebody who maybe had some setup over here that was with them. I don't know if this is a woven blanket or a quilt, which is kind of a theme with several of my photographs. Some of them I clearly know it's a patchwork quilt, but in this one and some of the beach ones, I know I can't imagine spreading out my patchwork quilt onto a sandy beach, or a crocheted or knitted one for that matter. So maybe these are, bedspreads or something like that. This one is sort of a type that I came across quite often. So it's a child sitting on what is clearly a patchwork quilt. There is a little tricycle scooter type thing, and I see a lot of these, a lot of like a baby or children sitting on patchwork quilts. And I liked his or her joyful expression. I liked that it looks to me like this patchwork quilt has been tied, and it also looks, I can't really tell if the edges are bound or not. But I really liked the feeling that this had. Again, it's the person smiling. It's just a joyful image. Now, I will say that all of these photographs are original photographs. I look really carefully. I don't want copies of photographs. It keeps my search narrow and kind of succinct. I don't want to amass some huge collection of these. I want each one to be really special. So these are all original photographs. This next one here was one of the ones that came after the child on the quilt, and I love this one. It just says number 5 on the back. I don't have a year, but it is for kids clearly having some sort of picnic. Again, I don't know if this is a patchwork quilt. I would be more likely to spread out a patchwork quilt on grass than I would on sand. So it could be, or it could be just a towel or something like that. But there's like a bottle of 7-Up, and they've got their glasses. I can't tell what's on the plates, but it looks like china plates. It's just a really nice, like they set it all up, and then a mom or a grandmother made them stop for a moment to take a photograph. So I do love this one for that reason. This is 2 women sitting on a quilt. I can't see a lot about the quilt itself. I can't tell. It looks like it might almost be these large star blocks. I can't tell. But to me, it has a little bit of emphasis on the quilt itself because you can see it laying out flat like that. This looks like it's in someone's garden. I imagine if this photograph were color instead of black and white, then I might see a lot of color. Flowers blooming, I might see patterns in the quilt, things like that. So this one, again, does not have any dates. It's clearly been removed from a photo album. I love just the casualness of they're putting out a quilt that's worthy enough to be part of a photograph. This photograph was one of the next ones. This one's clearly been removed from a photo album. And you can see 3 women and a patchwork quilt. There's a barn behind it, and they all are wearing hats. They seem to be kind of dressed up. She is smiling. These 2 look like they might have the sun in their eyes, and you can see a shadow of some people on the other side of the camera. And then there's just this wooded area over here. And I got this, I believe, on eBay. And the interesting thing is that sometime later, I don't remember exactly when, I bought another photograph of 3 women sitting on a quilt. And the crazy thing is, I think this is the same quilt and the same barn and the same, I don't think it's the same women, but I don't know. To me, and it could be the perspective of how this was shot versus how this was shot, the wooded area looks a little bit more overgrown than it did in this one. I kind of wonder, I mean, I just make up stories as I look at these, and I kind of look at this and wonder, is this the same 3 women many years later? I don't know. Again, this one does not have a date. It was clearly removed from a photo album, But again, I bought it from a different seller. So I find it interesting. I don't know what the story is and don't know if I'd ever know what the story is. So I just imagine what the story is. But I wonder, as I look at these, did someone make this quilt that's in the picture? Or is this just a quilt that they put down because they thought it would look good in the photo? Would I see a lot of colors if it were in color instead of black and white? I don't know. I don't know. All these things are questions that I think about. Here is another one with no date. It has the term Velox on it, which I assume has something to do with the photography paper. But this is a patchwork quilt with two really happy, smiling women in the summertime with their bottled Cokes and their really nice hair. And yeah, it just exudes like this feeling of summer. I really like their faces. Here is one where it's a child, probably the family dog, and then a quilt hanging on a line behind it. This, again, does not have any date on it, so we're not really sure. This sort of, the paper and just the image and everything about it sort of makes it feel like it could have been taken around the time that I was a child, which would have been in the mid-60s. So I don't know. You know, it's a mystery, but to me, it looks like the quilt has been tied. It's just simple rectangles sewn together, but maybe they're airing it out on a clothesline. And then I want to show you my absolute favorite photo. This one I purchased rather late in my collection. And honestly, at that point, I was like, I don't know if I can top this one. This might be my favorite. This is it. So let's see, August of 1951. And look at these three people sitting on this, it's a flying geese quilt, a thousand pyramids quilt, or a half square triangle quilt, just goofing off and having like the best time. I love that he has, I'm not even sure what that is on his head, but it's just funny. And then these two are laughing at what he's doing. And I just love the whole lightness and the feel of the photograph so much. Yeah, it says Jack Rabbit Company, Spartanburg, South Carolina on the back of it. When I bought this photograph, I thought, I don't know how I can top this one. It's so good. I have bought some others since then, and I actually keep a group of them framed in tramp art frames. Now, if you saw my last video about the vintage tramp art stool, you'll know that our house is relatively modern in feel, but I love tramp art, and I love tramp art strategically throughout the house. And so I love that there's this juxtaposition, and I do keep a few of the photographs in these tramp art frames. It's almost impossible to fit a vintage photograph into a vintage tramp art frame exactly, so I just gave up. So this fits well enough that it works. And this is a photograph of a couple in front of a quilt with stars on it. I look at it as sort of 4th of July-esque. You know, again, I don't know a lot about the photograph. Perhaps she made it. Perhaps he is in the military. Perhaps they just have a real love of star quilts. I don't know. Tramp art frames that I've purchased throughout the years that I keep a selection of the photographs in. The rest of the time, I keep them in a acid-free box just because I don't really know what else I would do with them, and I don't want to cause them further damage. So this is just an acid-free box that protects them from sunlight, from dust, you know, anything like that. And I'm really happy that I have this box because I brought it down to film this video today and it was covered with dust. That dust is thankfully hitting the top of the box and not the inside with the photographs in it. I have others that have brought me joy over the years that I will share another time. These are my all-time favorites. And one question that I've gotten in the past is how I use these photographs. And the answer is I don't really. We all have collections that just bring us joy, that we don't necessarily collect for a purpose of any kind. And I would call this collection that. It brings me joy every time I revisit this collection. It makes me so very happy, and I really do find a lot of joy in seeing these smiling faces sitting on these blankets and these quilts. And I felt like once I got a certain number of them that I didn't need this collection to be massive. I really like that it's the size that it is. I don't know that I'll add more to it, but I will, continue to peek into searching for them once in a while. It's a very compact collection of things. It doesn't take up a lot of room. I consider it very valuable to myself. Someone who comes into my studio years after I am gone may not feel the same way, and that is completely okay by me. So I would encourage you, if you have zany ideas of like little things that you can collect like this that sort of add to your joy of creating, if you're a quilt maker, that adds to the joy of your quilt making practice, that inspires you in some way, try making a small collection for yourself and do a little searching, see what you can find. And I would love to hear if you have any special collections that you hang on to or that you actively search for and what they are and how they inspire you. So leave a comment, and thank you for watching. I will see you very soon. Bye-bye.